The morning sun rose over New Seoul like any other day, casting golden light across endless rice fields that stretched to the horizon. Kim Tae-ho stood on his balcony watching farmers begin their daily work in the vast hydroponic farms that fed 22 million people. The 60-year-old governor smiled as he saw children running to school, their laughter echoing through the streets of the most beautiful human colony in the galaxy. New Seoul was everything Earth had dreamed of when they first sent ships to the stars 300 light-years from home. This world had become a perfect blend of Korean culture and advanced technology. Traditional Hanok houses sat next to gleaming towers made of materials that could withstand any storm. The air was clean, the water pure, and families could raise their children without fear of war or poverty. Dr. Park So-min rushed through the corridors of Seoul General Hospital, checking on patients before her morning meeting. She had been born on New Seoul and could not imagine living anywhere else. At 35, she was one of the youngest department heads in the colony, but her skills as a surgeon had saved thousands of lives. The hospital she ran was a marvel of medical technology, treating everything from simple cuts to complex genetic disorders. In the agricultural district, Lee Dong-woo examined his rice plants with the careful eye of a master farmer. His grandfather had grown rice on Earth before the Great Exodus, and Lee had continued the family tradition on this new world. The hydroponic systems allowed him to grow more food than ever before, feeding families across the colony. His work was simple but vital, keeping everyone healthy and strong. Engineer Choi Min-ho put the finishing touches on his latest project, a new residential tower that would house 5,000 more colonists. The building rose like a mountain of glass and steel, but its design honored the ancient Korean principles of harmony with nature. Trees grew on every level and water flowed through channels that cooled the air. Naturally, Min-ho was proud that his buildings made New Seoul feel like home, even though they were so far from Earth. The colony had grown beyond everyone's wildest dreams. What started as a small outpost of 10,000 pioneers had become a thriving civilization. Governor Kim remembered the early days when every supply ship from Earth was a lifeline. Now New Seoul produced everything its people needed and even exported goods to other human colonies across the galaxy. Children attended schools where they learned about both their Korean heritage and their place in the wider galaxy. Teachers like Mrs. Yoo Hae-jin made sure every student understood the values that had brought their families to the stars: hard work, respect for others, and the courage to build something better. The schools were filled with laughter and hope as young minds prepared for futures their grandparents could never have. Imagine the colony operated with the efficiency that had made Korea prosperous on Earth, but without the crowding and pollution that had driven so many to leave. Public transportation moved people quickly between districts, while parks and gardens provided spaces for relaxation and community gatherings. Every neighborhood had its own character, but all shared the sense of belonging that made New Seoul special. Trade with other human colonies brought wealth and variety to daily life. Merchants sold goods from dozens of worlds, while artists created works that blended influences from across human space. The markets buzzed with activity as families shopped for everything from food to furniture. The economy was strong and growing, giving everyone confidence in the future. Dr. Park So-min often worked late into the night, but she never complained. Her medical research was helping develop treatments that would benefit humans throughout the galaxy. The colony's medical school trained doctors who went on to serve on other worlds, spreading knowledge and healing wherever they went. She felt proud to be part of something larger than herself. Governor Kim held regular town meetings where anyone could voice concerns or suggestions. The government was transparent and responsive to the people's needs. Crime was almost non-existent and disputes were settled through discussion rather than force. The colony had achieved the peaceful society that many on Earth still dreamed of creating. The defense forces of New Seoul were small and focused mainly on rescue operations and natural disaster response. Commander Seo Jae-min led a force of only 5,000 personnel who spent most of their time helping with construction projects and emergency medical transport. Their weapons were designed for hunting dangerous animals and clearing obstacles, not for fighting wars. Young couples like Park Kyung-ho and his wife, Jin-ae, raised their children with confidence that the future would Be better than the past. Their son attended the same school where his parents had learned, and their daughter was already showing talent as an artist. The family lived in a comfortable home with a garden where they grew vegetables and flowers. The colony celebrated traditional Korean holidays with festivals that brought the entire population together. Lunar New Year saw millions of people gathering in the central plaza to share food and watch performances that honored their ancestors' Chuseok. Harvest festivals reminded everyone of their connection to the land. Even on this distant world, technology made life easier but never replaced human connections. Families still gathered for meals, neighbors helped each other during difficult times, and communities worked together to solve problems. The advanced systems that ran the colony were tools that served the people, not masters that controlled them. Scientists and researchers worked on projects that would benefit all of humanity. Dr. Kim Young-soo led teams studying the unique properties of New Seoul's environment, looking for resources and knowledge that could help other colonies. His work had already led to breakthroughs in agriculture and medicine that were being shared across human space. The news from Earth came regularly through quantum communication arrays. Governor Kim read reports of the homeworld's continuing problems with overcrowding, pollution, and political tension. He felt grateful that his people had escaped those troubles, but also worried about the families they had left behind. Everything changed on a cold autumn morning when the long-range sensors detected ships approaching from deep space. The vessels were massive and flew in formations that human eyes had never seen. Governor Kim received the first transmission from the Galactic Council announcing an immediate inspection of New Seoul colony. The message was brief and formal, stating that human expansion had raised concerns among council members, and that an evaluation team would be arriving to assess compliance with galactic law. Governor Kim tried to respond with diplomatic messages welcoming the visitors and offering full cooperation, but received no reply. Admiral Vex Murdoch of the Vorthan Empire led the fleet of 30 warships that took position around New Seoul. The reptilian commander had a reputation for crushing rebellions and enforcing council authority through overwhelming force. His cold eyes surveyed the human colony with obvious contempt as he prepared to demonstrate the price of defying galactic order. The peaceful morning that had begun like any other was about to become the last normal day in New Seoul's history as Governor Kim watched the alien ships blot out the sun above his beautiful world. Admiral Vex Murdoch stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human colony spread out below him like a disease that needed cutting out. The reptilian commander had destroyed 17 rebellious worlds in his career, and New Seoul would be his greatest triumph. The humans had grown too bold, too numerous, and too confident in their expansion across the galaxy. The broadcast equipment activated as Murdoch prepared to send his message to every corner of galactic space. Billions of beings would witness what happened when species defied the Council's authority. The recording devices captured every angle of the central plaza, where 22 million humans were gathering under the false promise of peaceful relocation. Governor Kim Tae-ho walked among his people, trying to maintain calm as Vorthan soldiers herded families into the massive plaza. Children clung to their parents, while elderly colonists whispered prayers in Korean. The governor had spent sleepless nights trying to negotiate with the aliens, but they refused all attempts at diplomacy. Their intentions had become terrifyingly clear. Dr. Park So-min moved through the crowd, checking on injured and frightened colonists who had been roughly handled by alien soldiers. Her medical training told her to help the wounded, but her instincts screamed that something terrible was about to happen. She tried to organize evacuation routes, but Vorthan guards blocked every exit from the plaza. The broadcast began with Murdoch's voice echoing across the galaxy in dozens of languages. He explained that humanity had violated colonial agreements by expanding too quickly, consuming too many resources, and breeding beyond acceptable limits. The New Seoul colony would serve as an example to any species that thought they could ignore council authority. Farmer Lee Dong-woo held his young grandson close as they were pushed toward the center of the plaza. Around them, millions of other families huddled together in growing terror. The old man had survived wars on Earth before coming to New Seoul, but he had never seen such organized cruelty as the aliens prepared there. Demonstration engineer Choi Min-ho used his knowledge of the colony's communication systems to send Desperate messages to Earth and other human worlds, his fingers flew over a hidden transmitter broadcasting the coordinates of New Sol and the identity of their attackers. Even if he died, his final act would warn humanity about the threat they faced. The plaza filled beyond capacity as Vorthan soldiers forced every colonist into the open space. Governor Kim stepped forward, making one last desperate plea for mercy. He offered to reduce the colony's population voluntarily to accept any restrictions. The council demanded anything to save the innocent lives under his protection. Murdoch listened to the governor's words with visible contempt before signaling his troops to begin the execution. The first energy bolts struck the outer edges of the crowd, cutting down families who had done nothing wrong except be born human. The screams began as parents tried to shield their children from weapons designed to cause maximum terror. Park So-min ran toward a group of wounded children, but a plasma blast burned through her chest before she could reach them. She fell to the ground, watching helplessly as the massacre continued around her. The woman who had dedicated her life to healing could only lie dying as her people were slaughtered. The killing was methodical and deliberate, designed to maximize the psychological impact on viewers across the galaxy. Vorthan soldiers moved in formation, cutting down clusters of colonists while forcing survivors to watch their loved ones die. The aliens wanted every species to understand the price of defying council authority. Li Dongwu threw himself over his grandson as energy weapons swept through their section of the plaza. The old farmer, who had spent decades growing food to feed his community, used his last moments to protect the future generation. His body absorbed the fatal blast, meant for the child he loved more than life itself. Governor Kim crawled through the carnage, trying to reach his daughter's body as Vorthan soldiers continued their work of death around him. The man who had built New Sol into humanity's greatest colony could only watch as everything he had created was destroyed in a display of alien brutality. Choi Min-ho completed his transmission to Earth. Just as enemy fire found him, the engineer's last act sent detailed information about the attacking fleet to human military forces, who would need every advantage in the war that was sure to follow. His buildings would stand as monuments to human achievement even after their creator was gone. The massacre continued for 6 horrible hours while the galaxy watched in shock and horror. Some alien species expressed outrage at the Vorthan brutality, but most remained silent, knowing that speaking out would make them the next targets. The council's message was clear: obey or face extinction. Children who had laughed and played that morning lay silent beside their parents. Teachers who had shaped young minds for the future would never see another classroom. Doctors who had saved countless lives could not save themselves from the systematic slaughter that consumed their world. By midday, the central plaza of New Sol had become a graveyard containing 22 million bodies. The beautiful gardens and fountains were stained with human blood, while Vorthan soldiers checked for survivors to eliminate. The colony that had represented humanity's bright future among the stars was now a monument to alien cruelty. Admiral Murdoch concluded his broadcast by warning that any human colony that defied the council would face the same fate. He wanted every human in the galaxy to understand that their species existed only at the pleasure of their alien masters. The reptilian commander believed his demonstration would crush human spirit forever. The few colonists who survived did so by hiding in the agricultural districts or maintenance tunnels beneath the city. They would carry the memory of this day for the rest of their lives, telling anyone who would listen about the price their people paid for dreaming of freedom. Among the stars, as Murdoch's fleet prepared to leave New Sol, the admiral looked down at the devastated colony with satisfaction. Another rebellious species had learned the cost of defying galactic order. The humans would retreat to their homeworld and accept their place as subordinate beings in the galaxy's hierarchy. But the reptilian commander had made a crucial error in his calculations. The broadcast meant to terrorize humanity would instead ignite a rage that would burn across the galaxy. Human nature was not like other species. When pushed to the edge, humans did not surrender. They fought back with everything they had. The last transmission from New Sol carried more than just images of death and destruction. It carried the names of every victim, the face of every murdered child, and the promise that this crime would not go unpunished. Earth would receive this message in 18 hours, and When they did, the galaxy would learn what happened when someone tried to destroy humanity. The silence that fell over New Sol after the alien ships departed was not the quiet of defeat, but the calm before a storm that would reshape the galaxy forever. The quantum communication array in Seoul received the transmission from New Seoul at exactly 3 in the morning local time. President Yoon Jae-sung was awakened by his security chief, who delivered the news that would change human history forever. 22 million Korean colonists had been murdered in cold blood while the galaxy watched. President Yoon sat in the Blue House Crisis Center staring at footage that showed the systematic execution of innocent families. His own grandparents had emigrated from the same region that sent colonists to New Seoul, and seeing their descendants slaughtered filled him with a rage that burned like ice in his veins. General Han Kyung-soo arrived within minutes of the alert, bringing with him the top military commanders of Earth's defense forces. The 60-year-old veteran had fought in 3 interplanetary conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for the scale of atrocity they witnessed on the New Seoul recordings. Intelligence officer Captain Lim Yoo-jin worked frantically to analyze every frame of the broadcast, searching for tactical information about the Vorthen fleet. The young woman had specialized in alien military technology, and her sharp mind quickly identified weaknesses in enemy ship designs that could be exploited in future battles. Oh Hai-jin, the planet's leading expert on alien biology, studied the Vorthen soldiers with scientific precision, looking for physical vulnerabilities that human weapons could target. Her research would become crucial in developing tactics that could overcome the aliens' technological advantages. The president's communication staff worked around the clock to gather reports from other human colonies across the galaxy. Most settlements were in panic after witnessing the New Seoul massacre, while others were already preparing defensive measures against potential council attacks. News of the genocide spread across Earth within hours as quantum relays carried the terrible images to every continent. Riots broke out in major cities as angry crowds demanded immediate military action against the aliens who had murdered their relatives and friends in Seoul. Millions of people gathered outside government buildings, carrying photographs of family members who had died on New Seoul. The crowd's grief transformed into fury as speakers shared stories of the colonists who had been killed. Their voices echoed through the streets, demanding justice for the innocent dead. Similar demonstrations erupted in Tokyo, New York, London, and every other major city on Earth as humanity processed the magnitude of the atrocity. The Galactic Council had declared war on the human species, and Earth's population was ready to respond with everything they had. President Yoon convened an emergency session of the World Assembly, bringing together representatives from every nation to discuss humanity's response. The debate was brief and unanimous. Earth would not bow to alien threats or accept the murder of its children. General Han presented military options to the assembled leaders, explaining that Earth's defense forces were strong but untested against galactic powers. The human fleet consisted of 300 warships designed for defense rather than the aggressive warfare they would need to pursue. Captain Lim's intelligence reports revealed disturbing information about the Galactic Council's military strength. The Vorthen Empire alone commanded over 10,000 warships, while dozens of other species contributed additional forces to maintain order across the galaxy despite the overwhelming odds. President Yoon felt no hesitation about declaring war against the Council. The murder of 22 million innocent colonists could not go unpunished, regardless of the cost in human lives that would follow. DRO's biological analysis suggested that many alien species in the Council were naturally cautious and risk-averse, unlike humans who thrived on challenge and adaptation. This difference in psychology might provide tactical advantages if human commanders could exploit it properly. The president addressed the world in a speech broadcast to every human settlement across the galaxy. His words were measured but filled with deadly promise as he formally declared the New Seoul massacre an act of genocide that demanded a military response. Earth would mobilize every resource for total war against the Galactic Council. President Yoon announced that humanity would not accept second-class status in the galaxy and would fight for the right to exist as free beings among the stars. The Declaration of war sent shockwaves through human space as colonies that had been paralyzed by fear suddenly found new purpose. Volunteer recruitment centers opened on every world as millions of humans, enlisted to fight for their species' survival. Industrial production shifted immediately to military purposes as factories, retooled to manufacture weapons, ships, and equipment. Designed specifically to counter Vorthan technology, the same engineering genius that had built New Sol would now create tools of war. Scientists and researchers abandoned civilian projects to focus on military applications. Dr. O led teams studying alien weaknesses while engineers developed new weapon systems that could penetrate energy shields and armor that human forces had never faced before. The orbital shipyards around Earth worked at maximum capacity, building a new fleet designed for offensive operations rather than defensive warfare. Human ships would be faster and more maneuverable than their alien counterparts, relying on superior tactics rather than brute force. Captain Lim established intelligence networks throughout human space, coordinating with resistance movements on alien worlds where oppressed species chafed under Council rule. Her agents discovered that many civilizations secretly opposed Vorthan brutality but lacked the courage to act openly. General Han developed new military doctrines that emphasized human advantages in adaptability, creativity, and risk-taking behavior. His strategies drew lessons from Earth's military history, where smaller forces had defeated larger enemies through superior planning and execution. Training programs prepared soldiers for combat against alien enemies using psychological profiles developed by Dr. O's research teams. Human fighters learned to exploit the rigid thinking patterns that made Council forces predictable. In battle situations, the President's final words to the world became a rallying cry that spread to every human settlement across the galaxy. He promised that Earth would remember New Sol, honor their dead, and make the aliens pay for their crimes against humanity. Within weeks of the massacre, Earth had transformed from a peaceful world focused on exploration and colonization into a military fortress dedicated to waging war across the galaxy, the same qualities that had carried humans too. The stars would now be used to fight for their right to remain. Their families who had lost loved ones on New Sol found purpose in the war effort, as they worked to build weapons and ships that would carry their vengeance to alien worlds. The grief that threatened to destroy them became fuel for the greatest military mobilization in human history. The Galactic Council had intended the New Sol massacre to crush human expansion and force the species into submission. Instead, they had awakened something dangerous that would spread across the galaxy, like wildfire, burning down the old order and replacing it with something new. Earth became a fortress world in the months following the New Sol massacre as every aspect of human society transformed to serve the war effort. President Yoon activated emergency protocols that turned the planet's industrial might toward military production, while General Han implemented training programs that would create the most formidable fighting force in galactic history. The orbital shipyards around Earth operated 24 hours a day, building vessels designed specifically to counter Vorthan military technology. Human engineers studied every frame of the massacre broadcast to understand alien ship capabilities and develop countermeasures that would give their forces tactical advantages. Dro Haijin led research teams working around the clock to analyze alien biology and technology. Her laboratories became the center of humanity's effort to understand their enemies, discovering that Vorthan energy shields operated on specific frequencies that could be disrupted with proper weapons. Captain Lim Yujin coordinated intelligence gathering across human space, building networks of agents and informants who provided crucial information about Council military movements. Her teams discovered that several alien species privately opposed the massacre but feared Vorthan retaliation too much to act openly. The scientific breakthrough came when Dr. O's team successfully reverse-engineered a Vorthan energy weapon recovered from the New Sol attack site. The alien technology relied on crystalline power cores that became unstable when exposed to certain electromagnetic frequencies that human ships could generate. Engineers immediately began incorporating this knowledge into weapon designs, creating plasma cannons that could penetrate Vorthan shields and disrupt their power systems. The new weapons were lighter and more efficient than their alien counterparts, giving human ships superior firepower. Despite their smaller size, General Han established training facilities on every continent where volunteers learned to fight in the zero-gravity environments of space warfare. The human military had always emphasized individual initiative and creative thinking, qualities that would prove crucial against enemies who followed rigid tactical doctrines. Young officers, like Commander Park Jin-woo, cousin of the murdered Dr. Park So-min, brought personal motivation to their military service that went beyond professional duty. They had lost family members on New Seoul and channeled their grief into becoming masters of space combat. The industrial transformation was complete within 6 months as civilian factories retooled to produce military equipment. Mining operations on Luna and Mars expanded dramatically to provide raw materials for the massive shipbuilding effort that would challenge galactic powers. Captain Lem's intelligence networks revealed important information about council politics. Many alien species were held in the alliance through fear rather than loyalty, and several civilizations had been conquered by Vorthan forces in the past century. This knowledge suggested potential allies for humanity. DRO made another crucial discovery when her teams learned that Vorthan soldiers relied heavily on their advanced technology and lacked the adaptability that came naturally to human fighters. The aliens followed predetermined battle plans and struggled to adjust when situations changed unexpectedly. The psychological profiles developed by human researchers showed that most council species were naturally cautious and preferred overwhelming force to risky tactics. This conservative approach meant they would be vulnerable to the aggressive strategies that human commanders were developing. Earth's new fleet took shape as shipbuilders completed vessels designed for speed and maneuverability rather than the heavy armor favored by alien forces. Human ships could accelerate faster, turn more quickly, and coordinate complex battle formations that would confuse enemies. Military academies accelerated their programs to train officers for the coming war. Students learned not just tactics and strategy, but also xenopsychology and alien cultural patterns that would help them understand enemy behavior. The curriculum emphasized flexibility and creative problem-solving. Volunteer recruitment drives brought millions of applicants to military service centers across Earth and its colonies. Young men and women who had never considered military careers enlisted to avenge the new Soul victims and protect humanity's right to exist among the stars. Training simulations used data from the massacre broadcast to recreate Vorthan battle tactics, allowing human pilots and soldiers to practice against realistic enemy forces. The programs emphasized exploiting alien weaknesses while minimizing human casualties through superior strategy. General Han developed new military doctrines that drew lessons from Earth's greatest military victories throughout history. Small forces defeating larger enemies through superior tactics, mobility, and the willingness to take calculated risks that conservative opponents would avoid. The weapons development program produced innovations that gave human forces unprecedented capabilities. Plasma rifles that could punch through alien armor, energy shields that were more efficient than Vorthan designs, and propulsion systems that made human ships the fastest in known space. Captain Lim established communication networks with resistance movements on dozens of alien worlds where oppressed species waited for someone brave enough to challenge council authority. Her agents provided intelligence and prepared for coordinated uprisings when human forces arrived. DRO's research into alien biology revealed that many council species had evolved on worlds with lower gravity than Earth, making them physically weaker than humans in hand-to-hand combat. This advantage would prove crucial in boarding actions and ground assault operations. The massive mobilization effort required sacrifices from every human family as resources were diverted from civilian needs to military production, but the memory of New Seoul's 22 million victims provided motivation that sustained the population through months of hardship. Earth's defensive systems were upgraded with new technologies developed from captured alien equipment. Orbital platforms armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets, while ground-based installations provided backup protection for the planet's vital industries. The training programs emphasized human advantages in creativity and adaptability while teaching soldiers to exploit the predictable behavior patterns of enemies who relied too heavily on advanced technology rather than tactical innovation. By the first anniversary of the new Sol Massacre, Earth had been transformed into a military superpower capable of challenging the Galactic Council's authority. The peaceful world that had once focused on exploration and colonization was now ready for the greatest war in galactic history. General Han's forces numbered in the millions, with every soldier motivated by the memory of innocent colonists murdered in cold blood. The human military combined advanced technology with tactical doctrines that emphasized the qualities that made their species unique. The final preparations included psychological warfare, programs designed to spread fear among Council forces who had never faced opponents willing to fight with the desperate courage of humans defending their right to exist. President Yoon reviewed the military buildup with satisfaction, knowing that Earth was ready to begin the campaign that would either secure humanity's place among the stars or die trying. The aliens had awakened something they could not understand or control. Operation Vengeance began exactly 1 year after the new Sol Massacre, when General Han launched humanity's first offensive strike against the Galactic Council. The target was Kepler Station, a massive Vorthan military complex that served as Admiral Murdoch's headquarters and the command center for Council forces in the sector. Captain Lin Yujin led the infiltration team that would disable the station's defenses before the main assault. Her soldiers had trained for months to operate in alien environments, using captured Vorthan equipment to blend in with the enemy forces stationed throughout the complex. The stealth ship carrying Lim's team approached Kepler Station using technology reverse-engineered from Council vessels, allowing them to pass through the outer security perimeter without triggering alarms. Human engineers had modified the alien systems to work with human operators while maintaining their deceptive capabilities. Admiral Park Jin-woo commanded the main attack fleet from his flagship, positioning over 200 human warships in hyperspace just outside the Kepler system. The cousin of murdered Dr. Park, Somin, carried personal motivation that went beyond military duty as he prepared to avenge his family inside Kepler Station. Captain Lam's infiltrators moved through maintenance tunnels, using detailed schematics provided by intelligence networks that had been gathering information for months. The team split into small groups to simultaneously attack multiple critical systems across the vast complex. Admiral Murdoch stood in his command center, reviewing reports from across the galaxy, unaware that human soldiers were already inside his fortress. The reptilian commander had grown overconfident after the new Sol Massacre, believing that humanity had been crushed into permanent submission. Lam's team struck with precision, timing disabling shield generators, power cores, and communication arrays within minutes of each other. The alien defenders were caught completely off guard by the coordinated sabotage that crippled their defenses when they needed them most. The first explosions echoed through Kepler Station as human infiltrators destroyed key systems using weapons designed to exploit Vorthan technology-specific vulnerabilities. Dr. O's research had provided exact frequencies needed to overload alien power cores and disable their energy shields. Admiral Park received the signal that defenses were down and immediately ordered his fleet to jump into the Kepler system. The human ships emerged from hyperspace in perfect battle formation, catching the Vorthan defenders completely unprepared for such an aggressive assault. The battle began with human plasma cannons tearing through enemy shields that had been weakened by the sabotage operation. Vorthan ships tried to respond, but their rigid tactical doctrines could not adapt quickly enough to counter the fluid attack patterns of human forces. Commander Seo Minjun led a squadron of fast attack craft and strafing runs against Vorthan cruisers, using hit-and-run tactics that exploited human advantages in speed and maneuverability. His pilots had studied the alien battle recordings and knew exactly how to exploit enemy weaknesses. The Vorthan fleet outnumbered the human attackers 3-1, but their advantages meant nothing when faced with opponents who refused to follow conventional battle patterns. Human ships coordinated complex maneuvers that confused alien commanders, who expected predictable formations. Captain Lim's infiltration team fought their way through the station's corridors, encountering Vorthan soldiers who had never faced human opponents in close combat. The aliens discovered too late that humans were Stronger, faster, and more adaptable than their intelligence reports had suggested, Admiral Murdoch realized. His situation was hopeless as human forces systematically destroyed his fleet and captured sections of his command station. The same broadcast equipment he had used to terrorize the galaxy now carried images of burning Vorthan ships and desperate alien retreat. The battle showcased humanity's new military philosophy as human commanders made split-second decisions that kept their enemies off balance. Vorthan forces tried to establish defensive positions, but human tactics emphasized constant movement and unpredictable attacks. Fighter pilots like Lieutenant Kim Hae-won used their individual initiative to exploit opportunities that would have been missed by alien forces following predetermined battle plans. Her squadron destroyed twice their number of enemy fighters by refusing to engage in the formal combat that Vorthans expected. The station's defense systems fell one by one as Lim's team completed their sabotage mission. Internal explosions weakened the structure, while human ships focused their fire on critical support points that would cause maximum damage to the military complex. Admiral Park watched with grim satisfaction as Vorthan ships tried desperately to escape the trap that human forces had created. His tactics had been designed not just to win the battle, but to send a message that would spread across the galaxy. Commander Park Yoo-jin led boarding parties that captured Vorthan officers alive, providing intelligence about Council military operations and political structure. The prisoners were shocked to discover that humans treated captives with dignity rather than the brutality they had shown on New Sol. The space battle raged for 6 hours as human forces systematically destroyed every Vorthan ship that tried to fight rather than flee. Admiral Murdoch's fleet was annihilated while Kepler Station was reduced to wreckage drifting. In space, Captain Lem personally confronted Admiral Murdoch in his command center as the reptilian commander tried to destroy sensitive information. The alien who had ordered the New Sol massacre found himself face to face with a human who had lost friends in that atrocity. Murdoch's final moments were broadcast across the galaxy as the same communication system he had used to terrorize humanity now carried his death to every world in Council space. The message was clear that humans would not accept genocide. Quietly, the destruction of Kepler Station marked the end of the first phase of humanity's war against the Galactic Council. News of the victory spread quickly through both human and alien space, creating hope among the oppressed and fear among the oppressors. General Han reviewed battle reports that showed minimal human casualties compared to the complete destruction of enemy forces. The new tactics and weapons had performed even better than expected, proving that Earth's military transformation had been successful. The victory demonstrated that humans could not only fight galactic powers, but defeat them decisively using superior strategy, technology, and the warrior spirit that had carried their species from caves to stars. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone tried to destroy humanity. Admiral Park ordered the broadcast of footage showing Vorthan ships burning around the destroyed station while human forces maintained perfect formation. The images would inspire resistance movements across Council space and terrify alien commanders who had thought humans were helpless victims. The first strike of Operation Vengeance had succeeded beyond all expectations, opening the way for humanity's transformation from a scattered collection of colonies into the galaxy's newest military superpower. The war that would reshape galactic civilization had begun. The victory at Kepler Station sent shockwaves across the galaxy as news of humanity's military might spread to every corner of Council space. Admiral Murdoch's death became a symbol that even the most powerful Vorthan commanders could be defeated by human determination and superior tactics. President Yoon used the momentum from the victory to announce the formation of the Human Liberation Front, a military and political alliance dedicated to protecting all species from Council tyranny. The declaration attracted support from dozens of alien civilizations that had suffered under Vorthan oppression. Dro Hyjin's research teams made breakthrough discoveries by studying captured Vorthan technology and biological samples from the Kepler battle. Her laboratories developed new weapon systems that gave human forces decisive advantages in subsequent campaigns across the galaxy. The war escalated rapidly as humanity liberated one Council world after another, with each victory bringing New alien allies who had been waiting for someone brave enough to challenge the established order. The same adaptability that helped humans survive on Earth now helped them thrive among the stars, Captain. Lim Yujin established intelligence networks that stretched across known space, providing Earth's military with strategic information that overcame the Council's numerical superiority. Her agents coordinated with resistance movements on dozens of worlds, preparing for coordinated uprisings. General Han Kyung-soo's forces grew stronger with each battle as they incorporated new technologies and tactics learned from their alien allies. Human commanders proved especially skilled at combined operations that coordinated different species' unique abilities against common enemies. The liberation of Proxima 7 brought the Kethter species into the human liberation front, adding their expertise in energy manipulation to Earth's growing arsenal. The insectoid aliens had been enslaved by Vorthons for centuries and fought with the fury of beings reclaiming their freedom. Commander Park Jin-woo led the successful assault on Vega Prime, capturing the planet's industrial facilities intact and adding massive production capacity to humanity's war effort. The shipyards that had once built Vorthon warships now produced vessels for the Liberation Front. The RO's teams reverse-engineered Council communication networks, allowing human forces to intercept enemy transmissions and coordinate with resistance cells across the galaxy. The same technology that had carried the New Sol massacre now spread messages of hope and rebellion. The Battle of Rigel Crossing demonstrated humanity's tactical evolution as General Han's forces defeated a Council fleet twice their size using coordinated attacks by human and alien ships working in perfect harmony. The victory proved that the Liberation Front was more than just human ambition. Captain Lim's infiltration of the Vorthon Intelligence Center on Altair 4 provided detailed information about Council military capabilities and political weaknesses. Her team discovered that many alien species were held in the Alliance through blackmail and coercion rather than genuine loyalty. The liberation campaigns attracted volunteers from across the galaxy as oppressed beings joined human forces to fight for their freedom. The Liberation Front became a truly multi-species alliance united by shared hatred of tyranny and the dream of a better future. Young officers like Commander Kim Tae-young proved that humans could lead mixed-species forces effectively by understanding the psychological and cultural differences that made each allied race unique. His tactics incorporated alien strengths while minimizing their natural weaknesses. The siege of New Vorthos, the enemy capital world, lasted for 3 months as human and allied forces systematically dismantled the Council's military infrastructure. The planet that had ordered the New Sol massacre found itself under bombardment as liberation forces closed the New Star. O's final breakthrough came when her teams developed biotechnology that could neutralize Vorthon biological weapons, ensuring that the aliens could not use plague viruses or genetic warfare to counter humanity's conventional military superiority. The fall of New Vorthos marked the effective end of the Galactic Council as a military power, though scattered resistance continued on remote worlds. For several more years, the Vorthon Empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries crumbled under the weight of its own brutality. President Yoon established the Galactic Assembly on New Sol, which had been rebuilt as humanity's first interstellar capital. The world where 22 million humans had died became the seat of government for a new order based on freedom rather than fear. The memorial built in the central plaza honored every victim of the massacre with individual markers stretching across the area where they had been murdered. Their sacrifice had given birth to an era where no species would face genocide for seeking freedom. Among the stars, General Han retired from active military service to become the first director of Galactic Defense, coordinating the forces that would maintain peace and protect smaller civilizations from future tyrants. His strategies became required study at military academies across human space. Captain Lim founded the Liberation Intelligence Service that monitored potential threats to galactic stability while providing early warning of any attempts to rebuild the old systems of oppression. Her networks extended to every inhabited world, ensuring that tyranny could never again hide in darkness. O's research institutes trained scientists from dozens of species in advanced technology and medicine, sharing human knowledge freely rather than hoarding it for military advantage. Her work helped raise the standard of living on hundreds of worlds. Liberated from council rule, the economic transformation was as dramatic as the military victory, as trade replaced tribute and cooperation replaced coercion. Former council worlds experienced unprecedented prosperity as they developed their resources. For their own benefit rather than alien masters' commander, Park led the exploration fleets that pushed humanity's borders ever outward, discovering new worlds and making contact with civilizations that had hidden from the council's brutal expansion. The galaxy proved larger and more diverse than anyone had imagined. The cultural renaissance that followed liberation saw art, music, and literature flourish as species that had been suppressed for generations rediscovered their heritage. Human creativity inspired alien artists while foreign influences enriched Earth's own cultural development. New Soul's restoration included advanced terraforming that made the world even more beautiful than before. Families from across the galaxy came to visit the memorial that had become a symbol of resistance to tyranny and the power of ordinary beings to change history. The children who grew up in the new galactic order learned about the dark years of council rule as history rather than current reality. They attended schools where humans and aliens studied together, preparing for careers in a galaxy where cooperation had replaced conquest. President Yoon's final speech as Earth's leader took place at the New Soul Memorial 5 years after the massacre that had sparked humanity's rise. He reflected on how the deaths of 22 million innocent people had led to freedom for billions across the galaxy. The old man placed flowers at Governor Kim Tae-ho's memorial marker, remembering the peaceful leader who had tried to protect his people through diplomacy. The governor's sacrifice, along with millions of others, had not been in vain, but had purchased a better future for all galactic civilization. The ceremony concluded with a moment of silence for the victims whose murder had awakened humanity's warrior spirit and transformed a species of explorers into the galaxy's liberators. Their names would be remembered as long as intelligent life existed among the stars. The new galactic order that emerged from the ashes of the council represented humanity's greatest achievement, not the conquest of alien worlds, but the creation of a civilization where all species could thrive without fear of genocide or oppression. The galaxy had learned what happened when someone tried to destroy humanity, but more importantly, it had discovered what humans could build when they fought not just for themselves, but for the freedom of all intelligent beings to live and grow among the infinite stars.